So I try to identify which are the most favorable 3-bets. And I'm not trying to play in frequencies.
$30 big blinds, we're probably going to be a little bit more polarized, so I actually wouldn't mind 3-betting this. Nope. Once again, 30 big blinds again. Let's have a look. It was versus UTG2. Yeah, again here we want to have a little bit better kicker for our offsuited aces, which makes sense. Because our opponent is going to be, of course, defending all these pairs. So it's much better to have an ace-9 off than, let's say, an ace-3 off, because you perform much better against 8-7-6s. Even though you might make more straights, but the equity of having an additional high card or over card against pocket 8-7-6s just outperforms 3-betting ace-3 off.
How wide is villain supposed to barrel this card with a small sizing only? So the 7 in clubs improves his 8-9s. He's gonna probably be stepping all 8-9s, whereas we're gonna be c-betting them, checking some. So I think it's a better card for him. Also, suited card will give him more backdoor flush draws. We're going to be betting some backdoor flush draws, but he's stabbing a lot of, probably all of his backdoor flush draws. So it's always a good card for him. So I would say either 40 or 60. Still, our range is still relatively strong. So once we call, we should be a little bit more careful. I go with 40. Oh, wow. All right. I actually would have thought it's a really good card, but okay, so after villain calls the flop, things get a little trickier. We can't just go ahead and keep barreling everything. Apart from a few trips and boards, we have lots of hands that don't want to bet 3 streets. Yeah, okay, it makes sense. So as I mentioned at the beginning, when we check and villain bets and then we call, I mean, we're not going to have 3s, 4s, 5s in our range anymore. It's like 10x, some traps, ace. So now we don't have any air in our range anymore. So also betting big for villain is also not very attractive, since we're gonna have a very easy time to defend according. We're gonna call our over pairs, we're gonna call our trips, we're gonna call our 10x in clubs, we're gonna call our ace queen, ace king club. It's really hard to bluff with a big sizing. So now probably the equities are somewhat even. Yeah, and villain is just supposed to be betting only 20%. 20% probably only his high equity draws, like if he picked up flush draw, straight draw, keep barreling his king queens, keep barreling his flush draws, keep betting his jack x, his boats, his straights, and that's pretty much it. Now on the turn, you really want to have high equity if you want to barrel.
We bet 2/3 pot and we face a check raise to add 8 big blinds. Which queen x do we defend? Do we defend all queen x? Do we defend queen 8 and better, or only queen jack and better? So I think here in this spot, most players, if they, let's say, have something like jack 5 suited, I think from the small blind they would just go ahead and bet. And here again, every solution is based on GTO and exploitative. So even if GTO would say, okay, we have to defend queen 5 sometimes, or queen 7 with a certain frequency, I think it's absolute bullshit to defend this in practice, because people are not going to be often enough creative enough to, let's say, go for a check raise with jack 4 suited. They just going to stab second barrel, potentially 3 barrel, but check raising the flop, then betting turn, shoving river, I think is quite optimistic. Oh, actually queen jack and better. Yeah, I would have thought at least the gut shot would be fine to call once, but even the better play would be only queen jack and better. So it gives you a very sharp understanding how to approach these spots when we face them in reality. Does it wants to call? So now, of course, we always going to VPIP the hand. So now the question is there a chance that we also want to be 3-betting or jamming it? I think this hand just wants to mainly call, maybe super tiny frequency 3-bet. So, but it should be most. Ooh, okay, so ace-6 suited here for 60 big blinds versus under the gun. Actually, we see here, these are the hands. I think that's also a lot of spots people struggle with, and including me, that these are the hands we want to be 3-bet bluffing. Big blind versus under the gun versus strong range. You want to be 3-betting very good hands.
We had big blind facing raise first in for versus hijack. So now you see, okay, ace 9 off is supposed to be 3-betting 25% of the time. So the way I'm doing it is, if I'm looking at tendencies. So I see, okay, suited aces are quite good, low suited connectors are good as 3-bets, and these suited broadways. I know that like some offsuited aces are very low frequency 3-bets as well. But my strategy then is going to be, I always 3-bet Jack 10 suited, 10-9 suited, Jack 9 suited, 10-8 suited. All the others, I'm just calling. I 3-bet some of the suited kings, maybe King 9, King 8. I 3-bet Ace 4, Ace 5 suited. I 3-bet 6, 5, and 7, 6 suited, and that's it. And I'm 3-betting them full frequency. So I try to identify which are the most favorable 3-bets. And I'm not trying to play in frequencies. And then, of course, against certain player types, let's say if I play against recreational, where I know he's going to call his queen jack off against a 3-bet because it's a beautiful Broadway hand, he wants to see a flop. There's no point in 3-betting Jack 10 suited. That's why most of you guys are so stuck in your GTO world and you're burning money over and over again. And there are also a lot of regulars, even on high stakes, they have a 30% fold to 3-bet, or you don't even need to have a heart. Like, they're just way too sticky. Then there's no point in 3-betting your Jack 8 suited. It's burning money. Because the benefit of 3-betting Jack 8 suited is, yeah, you fold out his, Queen 10s, Queen Jacks, his Jack 9 suiteds, even that can't really call against a big 3-bet. And then you get own post flop. Maybe they're also too sticky with their A6, calling Ace 10 off. The benefit of bluff 3-betting is that you bluff him off his hands. But if he's not willing to let go of his hands, you don't need to have a bluffing range at all. Pets also said it in the podcast, and it's really true. On low stakes and even on mid stakes, you don't even need to have a bluff 3-betting range.
You're not just like robotically following charts or whatever, which I think is the biggest downfall for anyone in poker now, is just following these charts.
Yeah.
Like the chart says after 4-bet jam. It's like I went through some hand histories yesterday of some guys I stake, and they're like 4-bet jamming under the gun versus small blind, where the small blind was never bluffing because the chart says they should go all in with Ace 4 or like Ace Jack or King Queen or whatever it may be. And yeah, just like don't follow charts is like my biggest advice ever. I've been in that zone where I follow the chart for every single decision, and like I'm obsessed. Like, oh wow, the chart says 50%, 30%. Then I start like randomizing. It's all bullshit. I've honestly followed the chart as much as anyone, and it's all bullshit, 100%.
So, and you see, you want to still have very playable hands, and I really try to look for patterns, and then from these patterns I simplify. I've never used frequencies. If I have, let's say, Jack 9 suited and I know, okay, I can call, I can 3-bet, usually I look at the opponent. If I know it's a very soft table, I don't want to put myself in a very marginal spot, then I just call. Like, if I cannot get an additional read, I will mix in some 3-bets, of course, right? Because it also calms me down post-flop. Let's say the board is 7, 8, 9, I know I will have Jack 10s, I will have 10 9s, I will have pocket 10s, pocket 9s. But most of the low stakes and mid stakes nits, they don't really understand what to 3-bet as a bluff. So they usually 3-bet 10s plus and ace queen, and then they're fucked on these boards, and then they have a hard time folding because they know with aces they're top of their range. But I know on 7, 8, 9, my bluffing range actually smashing this board, and I have an easier time folding my top hands, my overpairs, and I'm overplaying them because I have a very good board coverage. And this provides you with also a lot of confidence and the ability to make good laydowns, which I think is essential in tournament poker.